Tropical depression number 2 continues to churn to the Northeast Gulf, and it's likely to become Tropical Storm Bertha in the next 24 hours. Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. It's great to see you for the latest video. We're going to get right into what's happening right now in the Northeast Gulf with Tropical Depression number 2. Have the rest of your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas and all the tropics coming up here in just a minute. But if you're tuning in for what's happening with TD number 2, let me give you the latest. The first thing that you're seeing right now are wind gusts in miles an hour across all of the Gulf and offshore areas. We do have access to buoy data here at Meteo Mundo, so we can clearly see TD number 2 is just to the east of a buoy, and the winds have still been relatively weak for today. We've had some stronger wind gusts just off towards the east, but those are still only around 30 to 35 miles an hour. So some of the latest information on TD number 2. Winds are 35, northeast at 3, slow forward movement. Still likely to become a tropical storm, and probably a weak one, but it becomes Bertha, and that is likely to happen on Tuesday. We are going to see some storm surge and wind impacts to the northern Gulf, and the good news is it's likely not to become a strong tropical storm or a hurricane. Some models over the weekend were trying to make this a little bit stronger system. Show you what it looks like right now on the visible satellite imagery. TD number 2 has been fighting some drier air and some shear on the northern side. Now that shear has relaxed a little bit for today, and it's begun to consolidate a bit. Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance aircraft are trying to investigate the system right now. And again, there is the opportunity here as we go over the next 6, 12, and 18 hours at the most, where once the hurricane reconnaissance aircraft get into the storm, they could make this a tropical storm. Now you see that there are tropical storm watches in effect from the western Big Bend area of the Panhandle of Florida back to southeast Louisiana, including New Orleans, to the mouth of the Mississippi River. It is forecast to still become a tropical storm. Likely the strongest winds are going to be around 50 miles an hour. Then basically tracking due west, potentially skirting southeast Louisiana, the Louisiana coastline, and into eastern sides of Texas towards Houston and Galveston as a very weak system, probably either a tropical depression or already an extratropical system as we move towards the latter part of the week. So the good news is, again, we're not expecting TD number 2 to strengthen much more beyond a weak tropical storm, but there will be some storm surge and wind impacts along the northern Gulf Coast over the next several days, and the opportunity for some excessive rainfall as well. So looking at the next impacts that I expect, let's go into what's going to be happening with the storm surge. Newest map from the Hurricane Center, from as far east as Chassahowiska in the Nature Coast of Florida through the Indian Pass and the Florida-Alabama border. 1 to 2, maybe even 1 to 3 foot storm surge is possible. Your greatest storm surge impact is going to be from the Alabama-Florida border west to the mouth of the Mississippi River, including places like Gulfport, Biloxi, and New Orleans, where a 2 to 4 foot storm surge down towards Grand Isle is possible. Then farther west to Morgan City, that's a 1 to 3 foot storm surge. Lake Pontchartrain could also have a 1 to 3 foot storm surge as well. Rainfall totals are not expected to be exceptionally high with this system because it is going to continue to have the heaviest rain to the south. We'll look at the rainfall total potential coming up here in just 1 second. But the first thing I want to do from here is get into the rest of the tropical models and how the system TD number 2 / Bertha could evolve over the next couple days. We'll start off with the European AI ensemble members, basically down the center line from what the Hurricane Center has, staying offshore but remaining rather weak. And as we get into Thursday evening, headed towards the Texas coastline, but as a very broad, even sloppier system than what it is right now. The strongest basically right off of the Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana coastline. Now the European ensembles, the old school ensemble members, rather than the AI version, is a little bit slower, farther north, pulling whatever center of circulation develops inland towards places like Mobile and Gulfport and New Orleans, and then kind of splits. There are a couple of ensemble members which pull the system back north and east across the southeast United States, or some that go just due west into South Texas, again, as a very weak system, relatively speaking, by Thursday and Friday. And the GFS AI models have that same kind of northerly push towards the Mississippi coast and then skirting the Louisiana coastline through Thursday afternoon. So the GFS and the European AI ensemble members have that weaker solution skirting the northern Gulf and producing tropical storm conditions across those areas through at least Thursday, if not on Friday. But none of them, thankfully, especially compared to even just 24 hours ago, have this becoming a stronger tropical system. When we look at the GFS totals for rainfall, and I'll show you the European coming up in just a second. Again, the system being a little bit more sheared on the north might keep the heaviest rainfall off towards the south. So when you look at this, and I'll just show you a couple of quick numbers here, the heaviest rainfall is likely to be offshore at this point in time to go along with the strongest winds. It doesn't necessarily mean that several inches of rain won't fall, and we're not going to have some squally conditions here through Biloxi and Gulfport and New Orleans back towards Mobile and Pensacola, but relatively speaking, from what this system could have become, I think we're looking pretty good here in the northern Gulf. Now, I'm going to continue to monitor the situation across this area, and I promise you guys that I'll be keeping a close eye for our friends in the northern Gulf Coast states as we move through the rest of the week. But likely, again, the most significant impacts there will be on Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, moving on to the rest of what's happening across our area for today. Fresh winds have picked up through portions of the eastern Caribbean once again, and that has kicked up some relatively strong sea conditions. I'm going to bring back on our winds. The first thing you're going to see are temperatures. There have been some heat advisories for today. Places like Puerto Rico had heat advisories. Another hot day across Hispaniola as well. Switch over to the gusts, and you'll start to see some of those fresh winds. We're actually going to start off in the ABC Islands, Oranjestad today, a 37-mile-an-hour breeze, kicking up small craft advisories. By the way, you can see our information hub at the bottom of your screen. All of the watches, the warnings, the latest tropical outlooks as well, and some marine issues here. Aruba does have a small craft issue in effect right now. Winds are relatively fresh across the rest of the Lesser Antilles. A little bit stronger the farther north that you go. Hasn't been a bad day for places like Trinidad and Tobago on up towards Barbados. You get up towards Dominica, and that's where the winds have freshened up a bit towards Guadeloupe, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Save St. Eustatius. Small craft advisories for a lot of the Leeward Islands for today. Again, information scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Fresh winds over the Virgin Islands as well through portions of Puerto Rico. Again, relatively dry. A few thunderstorms have tried to develop late this afternoon. Nothing outrageously significant here. I'm going to bring on the lightning data for you guys right now. We'll see if there's any lightning out of this. Just a couple of strikes. We had a few down in the southwest sides of Puerto Rico. Look at the fresh winds. 30, 35-mile-an-hour winds from time to time. San Juan, Ponce, Aguadilla. An isolated thunderstorm over portions of the southern coast of the Dominican Republic towards Santo Domingo, San Pedro de Macorís, La Romana areas. Again, pulsed up, died back down very quickly. Dry over Haiti for today. Thunderstorms have developed on the northwest parishes of Jamaica late on this Monday afternoon. Trelawney, St. James, Handover, Westmoreland parishes, Montego Bay, on over towards the Falmouth area, back down towards Cambridge, Saville-Lamar. Good cluster of thunderstorms, locally heavy downpours here, northwest side of the island. You get back down towards Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, Morant Point, dry for today. Still have the large wave and strong wind advisory for the offshore waters, including Pedro and Morant Banks. A few thunderstorms will try and make a run towards Grand Cayman late on this Monday. Most of that activity will die out before it gets to the island, but I can't rule out a passing shower or kind of just some thunderstorms in the vicinity of that area. Things have been looking pretty good here through portions of the northwest Caribbean over the last few days. It's been drier. Roatan, Utila, Guanaja, towards Belize City. Few thunderstorms developing. Cancun, Cozumel, mainly interior, making a run west towards the Merida area where they've had a 38-mile-an-hour wind there for today. Again, kind of on the southern extent of our center of circulation. Now, if you live in Florida for today, we've had some pretty active weather. We've had some good thunderstorm activity. As a matter of fact, I wanted to show you guys that right now. Switching over to our live radar here at Meteo Mundo, you can see the spin in association with TD number 2. It has certainly brought in strong southerly winds across the peninsula of Florida. We've had 40 and 50-mile-an-hour winds from time to time, some locally heavy downpours. Those feeder bands will get as far south as the Miami area. If you're talking about places like the northern Bahamas, likely to not be directly influenced by this. A few scattered showers could crop up with this. Walker's Key, Freeport, Lucaya, Grand Bahama, Bimini, the Abacos, little thunderstorm on the northern sides of Andros. And again, it's not out of the question, but for the most part, we're not going to see any additional showers here. Relatively dry conditions for the southern sides of the Bahamas back down towards Turks and Caicos. We will start to see more Saharan air move across the area here over the next couple of days, mainly a little bit lower south in latitude to begin with, but as we head towards the weekend, another thicker plume of Saharan air is likely to move in, influencing places like the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Hispaniola, and then back into the southeast Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, something I'll be monitoring here as we move into the rest of the forecast. As we move on, that's an interesting thing. That was supposed to say subscribe. If you wouldn't mind taking a quick second, hitting that subscribe button for me. I certainly appreciate that. Again, you got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below as well. So what's going to be happening for the week ahead? Again, TD number 2/Bertha will continue to move off towards the west. Some significant rain is possible with the storm surge. Elsewhere in the tropics, as I bring on, by the way, your marine forecast, still going to start to see more tropical waves develop in the Atlantic basin. We had one stronger tropical wave that dissipated, but it did have the first area from the hurricane center last week. Well, guess what? Another robust tropical wave is beginning to move off the West African coast as we speak. This one could ultimately bring a highlighted area for the hurricane center as well, although I don't expect it to last as it moves across the Atlantic basin. And if anything else, they've been taking a little bit more turn to the north. But certainly, we're getting close to the 1st of August when we really start to see things cranked up in the Atlantic basin. And that's despite an El Nino. We're still going to have some areas of potential interest, but obviously the strong surface-based winds can keep things relatively quiet. Just a lot of shear there. Southwest side of the Caribbean is likely to continue to see elevated surf and sea conditions and rainfall potential there too. So over the next 5 days, let's take a look at what the rain outlook looks like. Your next weather headline here at Meteo Mundo. What does that look like? Well, again, fast moving, eventually system through the northern Gulf. Slow right now, but the heaviest rain is also south. Then once it picks up some forward speed, it could actually shove some decent rain as far south as Corpus Christi. But if you live Houston, Lake Charles, New Orleans, Biloxi, Mobile, Pensacola, just be aware that squally conditions are likely the next couple of days. Winds could freshen up well over 40 miles an hour, and that storm surge with potential tropical storm impacts right now from southeast Louisiana back into the panhandle of Florida. Elsewhere across our area, again, we'll continue to see a few showers move through the eastern side of the Caribbean. But with the next plume of Saharan air coming in, we're likely to see the rain chances begin to be undercut and more hazy conditions working its way back in. I am expecting some tropical moisture to return to the Windward Islands late this week. That could spell a few more showers for Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, TNT, and Nueva Esparta in the coming days. Not a lot of rain for the ABC Islands. Our Central American gyre is likely to be more active late week as well. So the potential for heavy rain and winds that are currently in effect right now for Panama and Costa Rica should spin north towards Nicaragua, back into portions of Honduras, and start to elevate rain chances again for places like San Pedro Sula, Roatan, Utila, Guanaja, Belize City, and maybe as far north and east as Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Not going to expect to see a lot of rain through most of the Bahamas over the next couple of days. Turks and Caicos look pretty good. Bermuda could be quite active. There is a thunderstorm advisory right now with additional shower and thunderstorm chances and elevated sea conditions in Bermuda for the week ahead. So taking a look at the rainfall over the next 5 days. Again, this is the European model. Even the European model keeps most of the significant rain just off the northern Gulf Coast of the United States. Now, still 3 to 4 plus inches of rain could move inland from Tallahassee west towards Mobile, Alabama. But I think we're going to keep the 6, 8, 10 plus inch totals that are on both the European and the GFS models off of the coast. So hopefully not a huge inundation of rain. But look, New Orleans is a city that's below sea level. They get an inch of rain an hour, they're in some big trouble, okay? Especially if the pumps begin to go down. So there are some areas to still monitor for flooding, especially in southeast Louisiana. If you live in those areas, you know. Back down into Central America, again, 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, possible in a couple of spots. Otherwise, again, it's somewhat scattered in nature for any opportunity for heavier rain. We continue with the gale conditions in the central and the western Caribbean. Elevated sea conditions, 10 to 12-foot wave heights are possible, especially if we get a stronger center of circulation with what is to become Bertha. But the more persistent strong activity is back into the Caribbean, and another front coming off the United States East Coast could bring additional gale conditions off of the New England coastline in the coming days as well. Friends, I'm out of time. I do appreciate you making Meteo Mundo part of your daily routine. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. I'll continue to monitor the situation across the Gulf and the entire area and be back with the latest forecast shortly. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.